Christianic CYInterview covering Las Vegas and the world. If you haven't already, please hit that like button below and please hit that subscribe button below to keep up with everything we have going on here at CYInterview in Las Vegas and beyond. We greatly appreciate it. We're at the north end of the Las Vegas Strip today, and we're going to revisit our 2009 CYInterview with actor Willie Aames, known for his roles in the TV shows 8 is Enough and Charles in Charge. Here is that CYInterview with Willie Aames from 2009.
This is Christianic, and you're on CYInterview.com, where we brought you over 1,000 of the biggest and brightest names in news, entertainment, and sports. Actor Willie Aames blasted onto the small screen in 1977 with his role as Tommy Bradford in the sitcom 8 is Enough. He would go on to star in another hit sitcom, Charles in Charge, which would air from 1984 to 1990. In recent years, Willie Aames has had troubles publicly for his financial issues when it came to declaring bankruptcy, an accused suicide attempt, which he denies in this interview upcoming, and he also lost his wife of 25 years, on top of that, battling homelessness. Aames is going to step into the ring this coming Saturday in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for Celebrity Boxing. You can find more information about the event at iClips.net, as well as celebrityboxing.tv. Aames is very candid in this interview where he holds nothing back and takes responsibility for his actions, but he's hoping to make many positives going forward.
What was the main reason you wanted to do this?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. Obviously in the last year, things have been pretty up and down for me. Mostly down, I'd have to say. And I had actually not been able to do this event a couple of times in the past when I'd been asked. And right now, to be quite honest with you, the best way for me to redeem the last year of really negative things going on in my life is to try to take a step forward and do something positive. Obviously, I need money, and I need to support myself. But as I've kind of looked at all of the mistakes that I've made, in the past, I decided I really wanted to try and take a step forward and do something positive. So what I'm doing is I'm going to go into this fight obviously looking to win, and if I do win, I want to dedicate some of those funds to some of the campaigns that are out there to promote financial literacy. At the same time, the money that I earn, a portion of that's going to go to putting me through business school. I want to go back to school and get accredited in business and finance and try to redeem some of the just horrible mistakes I've made in the past.
Seems you're in a position that many other child stars have been through, but you really do consider this thing to be helpful?
Well, I think at this point, Chris, in all honesty, anything is going to be helpful to getting me back into a place where I can redeem some of the really horrible situations I've put myself in. And, I really do think it is because I'm not the first guy in the world to file for bankruptcy. I'm not the first guy in the world to lose his house to foreclosure. I think we have some bad habits, and my personal worst habit has been not paying attention to finances and not really learning why and how they work so that I can learn to respect them. And I'm not saying, I'm going to be the financial giant. I'm saying I'm taking the steps to pull myself out of this. And let's face it, the whole country needs to learn that right now. And if by doing this and bettering myself, I can actually inspire some other people to do it, then great. That's a very good thing.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just, I don't want to give the standard, hey, I'm out here to redeem the world, because that would be a complete, total fabrication. I'm out to redeem myself and the past, and hopefully, look, 5 months ago, I was sleeping underneath the bushes at the Hollywood Bowl. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a job. I didn't have, a place to live. I had virtually nothing. I was in the worst shape I've ever been in my life. Now, 5 months later, I have a car. I have a job. I am solvent. I do have a place to live. I have a computer. I have a phone. That's a lot to accomplish in 5 months for anybody, let alone somebody who's almost 50. And, I really believe that we can bounce back and that I can bounce back. I'm a pretty resilient guy.
How did you go from being homeless to getting back into the real world? What were the steps? I think people would be curious about that.
Well, first and foremost, I had to evaluate what I had allowed to happen, and basically, I took some risk that not only put me financially in trouble, but it put my marriage in trouble. For the first time in 25 years, I found myself, alone. And I had a huge hand in doing that by the way I was behaving and some of the things that I was doing. Then secondly, I had to try and figure out exactly what I needed to get started. And they're all small steps, and it wasn't easy. I ended up getting a job installing satellite systems.
Yeah.
And it's hard work, which was good to keep my focus, on anything other than just my problems. And it started to meet the needs in terms of my financial obligations, to feed myself and clothe myself and get an apartment and that sort of thing. And so I did. And, I gained a tremendous amount of self-esteem back because, Chris, the fact is that when you have a year or a couple of years the way that I have, you really begin to wonder whether or not you have anything to offer anybody, let alone yourself. And when you can get over that step and you can finally get a job, no matter how small, no matter what it might be, or how it may look, that goes a long ways towards building your confidence back a little bit at a time. And that's what I did.
Well, talking about fighting financial literacy, I know that you filed for bankruptcy. You had debt, but explain to me what happened in your case.
Well, I think that stems from a lot of things. I mean, look, I've never paid attention to my own finances. I've always had somebody else do it, and I'm not blaming my problems on them. I should have known better. I should have taken more of an interest in how I spend my money, where I spend my money, and how money works as a tool. I always viewed, this thing as, well, these people just love money and that's their whole existence. I've never really learned to respect money and how difficult it is to make money because let's face it, I've been making money since I was 9 years old, so that, I think, it was the catalyst for all of the problems that I had. Now, I did do a hunting show and, my obligations in that show were pretty extensive. And when sponsorships for that show became harder and harder to get as the economy began to fail, I was on the hook for a huge amounts of debt, and I took out loans against my home. I took out loans against all the equity that I had. And when that failed, when that show went down, I was forced into bankruptcy. The equal devastation in that was that I'd put my family through so much at that point that they just couldn't take it anymore. And so, and along with that, Chris, as it got harder and harder to get jobs in the entertainment industry, and we all know that, this industry is changing constantly, and it's more and more difficult for any show to get picked up, let alone any one person, I began to place more and more of my self-esteem on the fact that I had what I considered an impeccable marriage of almost 25 years. So 90% of my self-esteem was wrapped up in my marriage, and this somewhat arrogant thought that I had this killer marriage. What I wasn't seeing was the damage I was doing to my family by putting them through so much hardship and increasing bad situations, the things that I brought on myself in some cases, and some things that just, plain old happened.
Earlier this year, you had an incident where you tried to harm yourself. What happened?
Well, I'll be honest with you, I have not read all of those things. It was not, I didn't feel it was wise for me to read more bad publicity when I was already going through the worst time in my life. There are some inaccuracies in those stories that I know about, and then there are some things that are very accurate. One of the things that had started about 10 years ago, Chris, was I was put on antidepressants. and I was on extremely high doses of 2 different antidepressants, and you should never go off those things cold turkey. I mean, they're one of them is Effexor, and it is notorious for creating huge problems. And I was in LA working on a show after my wife had left, and I had begun to run out of those medications, and I had sent word back to Kansas City for my ex-wife to send them out. Well, it took almost 8 days before they ever were even sent out, and I had them sent to an address that I was not at, and that person that was there was gone. So I ended up going off cold turkey on those things, and that's never a good thing. And that's when I ended up at USC Medical Center. Now, I was depressed. I did something that I hadn't done in 20 years, which was, gone out and gotten drunk. And I did some really stupid stuff. Now, the story comes out that I tried to commit suicide. I don't ever remember ever wanting to harm myself or anything else. As a matter of fact, when I got to USC, they said, well, we're told you have lacerations all over yourself. Where are they? And I said, I don't know. I was in the bushes and I had scratches all over myself. But, those days I gotta be honest, it's not just a cop-out. I gotta be honest with you. I don't really remember much. And what they told me at USC was, when you go off those things, all kinds of things happen. I can imagine. From people literally trying to commit suicide, which I did not, to seeing things, hearing things, which I did not. But all kinds of things happen when you go off of something like that. And the quote, and here's where I believe things got mixed up, is when I came out of USC, I told somebody what they told me, and it was this. We have people in here that stay for months because of a divorce. We have people that stay for months because of loss of job. We have people who come in here because they've lost their home. We have people who are in here because they've relocated and things aren't working out. We have all kinds of that. And we have people that are in here because they've not been able to get their antidepressants. You've done all of it at once. You're going through all of it at once, and you're fine. I was there for 36 hours. And they said, you're doing amazing. You're really doing amazing. So it's my guess, and as I said, I've not read all of the accounts, and a lot of it is really very, very hazy.
Have you had a drink since or not? Or is that just a one-time thing?
No, I'm not really interested in that.
Okay.
What I've been doing literally is I'm not interested in getting drunk. I'm not interested in doing that. I'm more interested in getting my life back on track, and it's not been easy. I got to be honest with you.
So, in closing with you, May 16th in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Willie Aames will be fighting in the ring. So, you say you want to go back to business school, you want to finish up a college degree. What is your ultimate professional goal going forward?
Well, right now, this is what I would like to see. I really want to go back and get accredited in business and finance.
Okay.
On my way to getting a CFP, which is a certified financial planner.
Okay.
Do I want to go into the finance business? I don't know. I do know that what I want to be able to do in the short term, and I'm really not looking too far out on this, is I want to get back to school, and I want to learn about those things that I have not been able to get my hand to get a grasp on. Well, yeah, and then see where it goes. There are some offers. It's funny, when you come through something, even in the short term, and that's why I'm trying to be so careful with you, Chris.
Yeah.
In the short term, people are saying, well, you could speak, you could do this and that. My feeling was this. I don't mind speaking, but I want to make sure that I have a very credible, authentic accreditation in what it is that I'm trying to learn about. And if I get those accreditations, then I can go to work in almost any area, really. And I'm not sure what that area might be. But what I don't want to do is get on some big bandwagon and go, look, everything's great, and I'm just 6 months out. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done. If for some reason what I'm doing can inspire people that have lost their jobs in this time or whatever, that you can start over at 50, that is going to be a great byproduct. I mean, and I say that as a byproduct. Right now what I need to do, Chris, is I need to get my life in order. I'm fortunate I'm solvent right now. I need to keep it that way. And I need to find out exactly what it is that Willie Aames needs to do in the long term. And I'm not sure exactly what that is. I know what my passion is right now. And my passion is to go learn these things, and maybe I can help some people along the way. And Chris, I want to be very clear about something, because you said something that I really, I want to be completely transparent, and I want to make sure.
Yeah, sure.
I have not gotten out and gotten drunk. I have had a beer and a glass of wine.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to make that absolutely clear.
Okay.
And that's why I put it that way, because and I don't want this to be, oh, Willie Aames is out still drinking. No, I'm not. That's not my interest. Since that time, yes, I have had a glass of wine, and yes, I have had a beer. So I don't want this to, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I just don't want that to jump up and go, well, I saw him in a bar not
too long ago.
2 months afterwards, and he was having a glass of beer. I don't want the future to be tainted by something that I've been able to put that behind me, but I'm just being really, really candid. After that happened in December, yes, I did have a glass of wine, and yes, I did have a beer. I just don't want that to spoil what I'm trying to accomplish from those moments forward.
Thank you for your time.
Does that make sense?
Yes, and thank you so much for your time today.
All right, Chris. Thanks, man.
This is Chris Shinnick for CYInterview.com.